I'm a lifelong traveler and Formula One fan who's been to a number of F1 races in the last few years. This is my affordable, step-by-step guide to booking and attending your first Grand Prix. Stay tuned to get detailed advice on which race to attend, the ticket to buy and where to buy it from, where to stay, and how to have an amazing time maximizing your experience, all the while minimizing your expense. If you've watched F1 race broadcasts, then you've dreamt of seeing it in person. But races are pricey events for the rich and famous, right? Well, if you have the cash, you can have a glamorous champagne and caviar experience. But keep in mind, the average F1 race is attended by hundreds of thousands of normal people. Most spectators are not Beckham, Brad Pitt, or Shaq. Watching F1 on TV gives a full survey of the action. Instant replay, play-by-play commentary, and professionally produced tech-rich content keeps you completely informed. But anyone who's attended a live sporting event or concert knows that you miss so much just by watching it on a screen. With F1, the blink and you'll miss it speed, the unbelievably fast braking and acceleration, the smell of burning rubber, and the sound. Oh, the sound. The atmosphere of the racetrack, the energy of the crowd, you know what I mean. If live events weren't amazing, nobody would go through the expense and hassle of going. They'd just watch it for free on TV. The bottom line is this: if you want to affordably see a race, book everything way in advance. Nothing gets cheaper closer to race day. So first, which race? Both in 2024 and 2025, F1 is hosting 24 races on 5 different continents. If you live in Europe, the US, Eastern Canada, or on the Arabian Peninsula, there's a really good chance you have a Grand Prix within reasonable distance of your home. But is that the race you should attend? Well, the answer is complicated. The total cost of attending a race varies a lot by place. This year, the cheapest 3-day general admission tickets at each of the Grand Prix in the US are all over $500. In Budapest, Hungary, the same ticket is $120 for an adult and $20 for kids. A 3-day parking pass at the US GP in Texas costs over $300. In Hungary, parking's free, and you can probably guess which place offers cheaper accommodation, food, and transportation as well. If you love travel, every race has its own distinct atmosphere. When you're not watching the race, you'll explore the unique culture of the area. Races also feature local food vendors, performers, and of course, local fans. So which race to attend? Well, here's a few considerations besides the cost for you to get there. So the types of tickets and their cost. With some circuits, a general admission ticket gets you great views. With others, general admission is a really poor value. Some circuits have very affordable grandstands, while others are much more limited. A few races offer significant discounts for kids, others charge everyone as an adult. The second thing, the type of track and how that influences accommodations and transport. If it's a street circuit like Vegas, Baku, or Singapore, you'll be staying in the city and only need a subway or your feet. If it's more rural like Spa, the Hungaroring, or the Red Bull Ring, you'll either camp at the circuit or have long traffic-filled drives to and from the track. Next, the price level of the country hosting it. Different places obviously have different costs of living. Vegas is where most people go to splurge, so it's no surprise it's by far the most expensive race to attend. So the final consideration, how many people attend the race? Races like Baku or Bahrain are attended by under 100,000 people the entire weekend, while the Australian and Canadian Grand Prix had more than double that just on race day. So the busier the race, the more competition there is for food, lodging, and transport. Once you've selected a race to attend, which ticket type should you buy? Keep in mind, F1 circuits are not typical sports arenas. Every circuit is different, so there is a huge variety of ticket types available. In the description, I've listed a number of websites that I've found valuable in scoping out seating options. So I'm a serious F1 fan. So if I splurge on anything at the race, it's going to be on the ticket. If I'm going to be in that seat for at least 12 to 14 hours over the course of the 3 days, I want a seat, I want a great track view, and I want the ability to watch the race on a large TV monitor as well. But hey, not everyone is as passionate of a fan as me. So here's the simple breakdown of ticket types. General admission tickets are the cheapest option for fans looking to soak up the atmosphere. You'll have access to most of the public areas of the circuit, but it does not give you an assigned seat. just like general admission at a concert. Now, if you're a casual fan and don't have much money, the absolute cheapest way to experience a race in person is to buy a Friday-only general admission ticket and then bring your own food. You'll see F1 cars zooming by during the 2 practice sessions, and general admission areas won't be that crowded, so you'll get to absorb some of the spectacle of the weekend with minimal cost, crowds, and hassle. Now, I would not recommend buying general admission if you want to closely follow the race or if you're bringing kids. General admission areas usually do not have very good views and are not typically located where you can see a large video screen. So you'll likely not know precisely what is happening as the race is unfolding. General admission areas are always uncovered. They're exposed to the weather and get absolutely packed on race day. So if you choose general admission, you need to be calculating and plan ahead to figure out where you want to sit before race day, and then get there many hours before to secure your spot. So you need to kind of ask yourself the question, how much is your time worth? If you're mainly interested in the venue, not the event, you know, hanging out, people watching, partying, seeing the performers after the events, then the general admission is a perfect choice. I mean, Verstappen's probably going to win the race anyway, right? But if the event is more important than the venue, then please pay extra for a grandstand ticket to guarantee a good view from your own seat for the entire weekend. With most grandstands, big screen monitors are located in easy view to follow the progress of the race and the leaderboard. Now, grandstands each have their own prices. Places like the starting grid or by key corners for overtaking command a premium. Ones that are in the middle of a straight tend to be cheaper. That's not to say they're a poor value. Tracks won't spend the time and money to put grandstands in locations where fans will be bored and the tickets will not sell. Generally, with grandstands though, you get what you pay for. Higher price almost always equals better location and race action. And as a rule, I'd say to try to buy the most expensive tickets that your budget allows. Now, one side note, if a grandstand is built at the same elevation as the track, you do not want to be seated in one of the first dozen or so rows. There's safety catch fencing around F1 tracks, and this interferes with your sight line. Being further up will give you a far clearer view. So what about premium seating and hospitality? Well, this is about affordably attending an F1 race, so I'm not going to go into this. There's plenty on YouTube showing the luxuries of F1 hospitality venues and the Paddock Club. Premium hospitality varies by circuit, but it is always expensive. But if you have connections and can get me complimentary access, I would love to check it out and give it my review. So once you've decided the race to go to and where you want to sit, when can you buy the tickets? Now, this answer is surprisingly complicated. Every F1 race is independently run by its own promoter, so there's a lot of variability in pricing, ticketing, and policy. Depending on the race, tickets sometimes go on sale almost immediately after the previous year's race ends. With others, tickets are released in blocks to different outlets at different times. Some races sell out in a matter of days, where others have tickets available up to a few weeks before. But with very few exceptions, the race will sell out. So try to decide which race you might attend well before tickets go on sale. Sign up for alerts from ticket vendors and the venue so you will know the moment they drop. Once tickets are released, buy them immediately. The price will not go down. Ticket vendors sometimes even offer early bird discounts. Tickets to most races are sold either by the single day or by all 3 days. The best value, assuming you can actually go to all 3 days, is that ticket type. Now, one note, tickets may show as sold out on the official F1 website. This does not mean they are sold out everywhere. Check the specific circuit website, GP Ticket Shop, and Motorsport Tickets. They all sell blocks of tickets and have varying release dates, prices, and availability. So unless you live nearby, you're going to need lodging. If camping is available, it'll typically be the most affordable and convenient option. Purpose-built race circuits are often in rural areas surrounded by fields that get converted to campgrounds on race weekends. Now, when you camp, you're staying at the circuit, so the travel time to the race is minimal. Camp organizers bring in portable container modules of washrooms, toilets, and showers. Most also have pop-up bars and food stands as well, so you don't even need to cook for yourself. So I went to Austria this past summer, rented a camper van in Vienna, and camped at the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix. The cost was about $100 US per day to rent the van, and $350 US for the fee to camp for 4 nights at a campsite with an electrical hookup. So if you split that cost amongst a few friends, you'll see it's actually pretty affordable. Now, if you're attending a race in or near a city, you're going to be staying at a hotel or Airbnb. Your top consideration should be fast and easy travel to and from the circuit. Expect packed roads and crowded trains, so the less transport required, the better. If you go to a city race, try to stay within walking distance of the track. The events of the weekend will consume most of your days and much of your evenings. So I find it's a waste to splurge on luxurious accommodations that I'll barely be at other than to sleep. So here's a little expert pointer. If you can free cancel, book your accommodations the moment the dates of the Grand Prix you want to go to are announced. The entire F1 schedule for 2025 was released in April 2024. So if you can't free cancel, book your lodging immediately following your ticket purchase. Like everything else, lodging will not get cheaper closer to race day. And as a quick side note, I booked my Airbnb for the 2025 Canadian Grand Prix in April 2024, on the precise day that the 2025 calendar was released by F1. So getting to the circuit. So if you make the brave choice to drive yourself, remember traffic will be extreme. Plan ahead and leave yourself plenty of extra time. In fact, the pain of the hours of driving between our accommodations in central Budapest and my first F1 race at the Hungaroring in 2022 is what convinced me that I should never drive myself to a race again. We missed a few events while stuck in traffic getting there, and we departed the race just before the finish to avoid being stuck getting out. Any race I've been to since then has either been camping at the circuit, walking to the city circuit, or taking public transport. This allowed me to have a few beers, do the post-race track invasion, watch the podium ceremony, and soak in all the euphoria of the race instead of being stuck in traffic. But even if you take public transit or walk to the circuit, you need to add in extra time. There will be huge lines for trains and buses. Walking will be slow due to the crowds. There's going to be queues for security, ticket checks, and pretty much everything else as well. So one last little suggestion on transport. If you take a subway, train, or bus to and from the track, make sure you buy your round trip ticket at departure so you don't have to line up to buy a ticket when you leave the track. Race days. Something you can't tell from watching a race broadcast on TV is that the feature race is only part of the hours of activities available over the course of the weekend. Circuit fan zones have loads of free entertainment ranging from concerts to driver Q&As. GP weekends also include support race series like F2, F3, Porsche Mobile Super Cup, or Ferrari Challenge. And this is in addition to the F1 practices, qualifying, sprint races, and feature race. So circuits vary on what they allow to be brought in, so do your research in advance on this. But expect to go through a metal detector and have your bags searched at the circuit entrance. Most races on the F1 calendar are day races, and most seating at tracks is not covered, so be prepared for the weather. Food at the circuit varies dramatically by race, but you can expect it to usually be relatively pricey and usually not the greatest quality. A super easy way to save cash and avoid the inevitable queues is just bring your own picnic and snacks in your bag. Anytime I go to the circuit for a race, I always bring the following in a small backpack. Whatever you bring, try to keep it light, compact, and waterproof. So what's the flow then of a typical race weekend? So Thursday, circuits sometimes open their fan zones on Thursday, even though there's no racing. Many also have a public pit lane walk scheduled for Thursday. The pit lane walk is super interesting. It gets you on track, close to the garages, and you might even see an F1 celebrity. If you're near the circuit when this is scheduled, make every effort to do it. So Friday is the first day of action, and we'll usually have two F1 events, Free Practice 1 and Free Practice 2. If it's a sprint weekend, this might be a little different though. Each of these last 1 hour, and they typically are spaced 2 to 3 hours apart. During the free practice, the teams get a feel for their setup and the track. Now, if you need to miss any of the 3 days, skip Friday. It's the most sparsely attended of the 3 days, but this also makes it the best day to explore the circuit, do fan zone activities, and buy any souvenirs. Saturday, for non-sprint races, has a third 1 hour long practice session, followed a few hours later by the hour-long qualifying session. Qualifying is what draws in the bigger crowds and really starts to build the electricity. So Sunday, of course, is the main event, the feature race. However, there is a lot that takes place in the build-up before it begins. I personally try to arrive at the circuit at least 3 hours before the race begins. There's a driver's parade that begins 2 hours before the race, and then a whole series of events follows. In the pre-race buildup, I've seen air shows, low altitude flyovers, even a guy flying around the track in a jetpack, who incidentally crashed right in front of us. Dignitaries, leaders, and celebrities are all part of these events. And if you're able to afford a ticket in the main grandstand, you'll get the live view of the buildup, interviews, grid lineup, national anthem, and start. Even if you're not sitting in a prime place, it all gets shown on video screens, and the driver's parade will go around the entire track. By the time the formation lap starts, the entire circuit will be buzzing. Then it's lights out and away we go. Now once the race ends, mini circuits open the fencing in front of the main grandstand and the podium for the track invasion. This is well worth staying around for. Find out which gates will open and then head there immediately following the checkered flag so you can get a prime position in front of the podium. Then walk as much of the track as you can. It's a great way to close out your F1 weekend. I hope this unwinds a bit of the confusion you might feel as a noob to live Formula One. If you go high end, it can be one of the most pricey sports in the world to spectate. But with the right information and a bit of advanced planning, it doesn't have to be as expensive as you might think. If you found this valuable, a like and subscribe is sincerely appreciated. Don't hesitate to post your questions or comments. Please be sure to check out some of my other F1 related content, and I'll see you at the circuit.